Hi, my name's Frederick Krasey. I'm from FKC Health, and today I have with me a very unique individual, Adam Zaks from A2Zed Health. And Adam is a holistic health coach, and I've been waiting for this interview for quite some time, and I'm really excited to bring you real quality input in the health arena. And Adam is one of the early adopters to take up this opportunity to share what A2Zed Health is all about. So Adam, can you tell us your story and give us a double whammy?
Story. Hi everyone, I'm Adam. What sort of story would you like?
Okay. Well, A2Zed Health implies to me that it's holistic and that you are covering a lot of topics. And what is exactly A2Zed Health?
What it is? Well, it's the ultimate life manifesting tool. It's something that you can use to dock your own life with. So rather than being able to or trying to figure out your own life, it's a tool that you can use to manifest your own life through. And what I'm giving the world is a way of looking at health from a new perspective, because the philosophy behind A2Zed Health is life and life is health. And through that rise to ultimate health, a whole heap of other things in your life will come to fruition because of a brand new level of philosophy in your life. That's in short.
Okay. Well, I know that I've known you for 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. And in that time, you've impacted me quite a bit in my health journey. And one of the things that has attracted me to be involved in your teachings and your whole learnings is the fact that no one area, just say exercise, diet, sleep, you can go through a whole list, but no one area in itself works. So your system is very integrated, very, very wide bandwidth, and it takes into consideration so many things that I'm headed up to 68, and at 68, I've still got amazing health and I can do a lot of things that a lot of other people can't at my age. And I have to give you some credit for that. You've influenced me through your teachings. Can you explain some of those teachings to me?
Well, yes, it's very multidisciplinary, because I see health evolving with the following stages. It seems to have worked this way for me, and what I've noticed through other people, it seems to have transpired in a similar fashion. That is a physical nature that hopefully as children we're encouraged to play a sport. For me, it was soccer, internationally called football, and it's my love, it's my passion, it's what set everything up for me. Physically training and having a love for that physical element, because we're designed to move. And once you start to move the body, you're going to start to want better fuel, because if you're not fueling yourself in the right way, you're not going to be able to move in the way you want to move, and you're not going to be able to recover in the same way that you used to as time goes on. And so then nutrition becomes very important. We need to look at it as a fuel source. So became better at analogies as I went on with the journey and with the concepts, and I just create analogies on the spot, and that's something I have a knack for with my clients. So I'll share one with you now that I've just thought of, and that is that when you buy a really high performance car, you're not really going to put the cheap petrol into it. You're going to put the really expensive high-end petrol in there. And now you might see that as an expense, but if you don't put the right fuel into the high-powered vehicle, you're going to have problems with it, because it's designed to have that really high-level fuel. And as people, we're designed to have high-level fuel because we've got such incredible capacity in all these different areas in ourselves. That is our physical nature, our brain, our nervous systems, our digestive system, but then our spiritual life. And so if you're not putting the right fuel into that, you're not going to manifest those other areas. So if we had that physical point that we started with, and we have the right fuel, we're then able to have the right type of thinking. The thing is, though, because it's such a hologram, as you poetically told me one time in looking at my work, you said that A2Zed Health is a hologram. So if we look at any of these areas, we're going to need the other areas to come into play in order for those other areas to work. So let's reverse it. Say if we looked at mindset, you know, you have to have the right sort of mindset in order to then want to exercise and eat well. Let's look at it from a nutritional point of view. If you eat well, you're going to feel a certain way, and you're going to have better brain capacity to be able to think straight, and then so on and so forth. So everything plays on from doing the right thing in any area of your life. With relationships, if you treat yourself and others with the wrong type of energy, you're going to get the wrong type of result. And so that's how the philosophy of A2Zed Health plays on with anything that we look at. Why is fashion important? Why is relationships important? Anything that you do, if you do it like you really, really, really care about it in the moment, it's just such a beautiful thing for you to get right, then you will reap the benefits. Just like, I guess, the the background imagery that we had to play with before going into the interview, we wanted to get our backgrounds right. So it's every little detail is important.
Well, I guess for me, going into the health journey and connecting with you, we put a lot of things into spreadsheets and got a little bit, not fanatical, but detailed. And I'm so glad we did, because it came down to me to 5 good areas, and that was sleep. Without getting enough sleep, you're in trouble. And of course, hydration and having water along with other liquids, but making sure you get good quality water on a regular basis. And of course, exercise, which can mean so much to so many, but people over 40 should be doing weightlifting and restraintive weight training. And there's got to be cardio in there to keep the heart rate up, because a lot of people, when I mix with people my own age and I go walking with them, sometimes I look around, they're 20, 30 yards behind me, and I'm not a fast walker. It's just that they didn't make good decisions when they were younger. So then it comes down to nutrition, which is a whole ballgame, supplements and food and stuff like that. But I eat enjoyably, and I realize everything in moderation, including moderation. You know, like I know that with the 80-20 rule, I'm ahead. You know, I have a bit of naughtiness here and there, but it's not where I've seen other people end up who's had the 80-20 rule reversed. You know, they've only done 20% good things and not so good things. But the dimension that really appeals to me about A2Zed is when you go into the spiritual dimension and you talk about relationships and toxicity and what you entertain in your mind and your behavior, and then how you look into art, music, poetry, nature, all the aspects. It's like a rainbow. It's a hologram. So are your finances healthy? Are your relationships healthy? Is where you live healthy? Are your plants and animals healthy? Because really, health is a vibrant expression of life. And I've learned this from you. I'm only giving you your philosophy back. So tell me, Adam, what drives you?
Well, everything you said right then, I was like, yes, 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 beautiful. I don't know about the 80-20 rule. I mean, I see everything as 100%. So everything you look at, you need to go 100% in. Otherwise that thing isn't going to reap that 100% benefit. So anyway, so what drives me is it's in inverted commas, maybe a deep answer, but sometimes that's what's needed. And I guess the type of viewers that you have are ready for something a little bit more heartfelt, because we're not just here to talk about surface level stuff. So A2Zed Health was born out of pain, because we either move away from pain, or the seeking of pleasure. So we either run towards pleasure or we run from pain. Initially, some of that initial catalyst, I'm going to use the word catalyst, that's in the book that I've got coming up, which we can talk later. Toward the end of a book that I'm writing, I talk about catalysts. Now, you can have many catalysts in your life, but there was one particular catalyst for me that was a huge pain or wall that went up in my life, and that was almost dying from a burst appendix. So without going into too much detail, that was an incredible pain. Like that's a pain that you wouldn't wish on anyone. It was a ridiculously horrible pain. But as far as catalysts are concerned, when you look at catalysts, so that we can make it about the viewers here, when a certain catalyst comes up into your life, and maybe you can't relate to the word catalyst, but maybe you can relate to the word pain. Maybe a certain pain comes up in your life. Can you look introspectively inside the pain and figure out where it came from? What's its purpose? See, I wrote in the book that I've got coming up, if pain didn't exist, you might have your elbow on a hot stove, and before you know it, you lose all the flesh on your arm, and you're looking at your skeletal arm and you're asking, what's cooking? Smells good. You know, it's sort of like if you didn't have that sensation of pain, you would look at your arm as not part of you, and you just go, oh, that's interesting. It's a nice barbecue meat on the stove right now. It's like, but because there's pain, it has this message. So now you need to figure out, what is the message? What is life trying to show you for you to better yourself and the world? How can you use that pain to create and harness a certain set of principles or lessons that is better for you? And then therefore, how does that ripple out into the world? For me, that burst appendix, it happened at a stage where I was recovering from another kind of catalyst, and that was an injury which stopped me from being a professional soccer player. So I was studying to be a personal trainer in 2004. And then halfway through that year, the wonderful universe showed me this incredible tool, which I relate to as a catalyst, which was my burst appendix. And what that had said to me as an epiphany, as a great light for me, was, hey, Adam, it's not personal training. It's not just personal training. Personal training is only one aspect of you. You're studying the physical. Now that you've had this massive thing that's happened in your life, how can you perfect the digestive system, your thinking, your psychology, your spirituality, your relationships? How does one get out of depression, anxiety? How can we make our thinking better? How can we harness the concept of money to create better outcomes for ourselves, our loved ones, and the world, and create less drama and war and violence and more peace and love?
Interesting. I guess I have a similar vein that for me, I was working for one of the big four banks, and I was in the digital department. I noticed a lot of people in there that were grossly overweight and bad posture and everything else because of the IT situation and leaning over the computers and seated the whole day. And I had an epiphany. I was 93 kilo, and I remember my father had died and was buried a week before I commenced the job at the bank. And I remember at his funeral, there's quite a few people there, and I said in the eulogy this line. I said that my father was my mentor, teacher, coach, and friend, and if only I would be at least half the man he was. Well, he was fourth in the world as a swimmer, and he was swimming 4 world championships at 91, and he lived till 97. And then I realized what a waste of my own legacy, and how I had ankle pain, back pain, knee pain. And the lights went on in me, and I realized he was still having fun at 85, 90. He was still going on adventures and trips and going to swimming club barbecues and carnivals. And I'm thinking, if I'm with his genes and I'm stuck around here for another 30, 40 years, I'd better do something. So I had all the knowledge and wisdom. I had some of the motivation, but I took a lot for granted because of those genes. Well, I've seen other people in my situation that haven't, and they've really got the bill, and it's tragic. And what I like is I feel like I'm a 35-year-old guy in a 68-year-old body. I still enjoy my food, all the tastes there because I haven't trashed it with smokes and alcohol. All the body sensations are there because I move a lot and I walk a lot. I walk 5 days a week, 9 kilometers a day. I work out 4 times a week. It sounds like a lot, but when you get to my age, you don't have to work out for 2 hours. You know, if you put in 30, 35 minutes and with a bit of cardio in there 4 or 5 times a week, it's not hard. It's the same as somebody on a job. It's not even a job's more than that. So what I find is that you have expanded my bandwidth. Whenever we talk about any subject whatsoever, you relate it back to A2Zed Health. I talk in my life balance and awareness model. I talk about the central navigational guidance system, and that, in other words, organizing your knowledge, your wisdom to deal with your beliefs, your thoughts, and your physiology. And then I talk about health, not to the degree you do, but I certainly cover health to the extent where I'm interested in the holism of health. And I talk about wealth because in a Western society, if you're broke, you're not having fun and you can't open doors for your family and friends, and you can't maintain your health on a bad budget. And then happiness, if you're healthy, you're wealthy and you're centered and balanced, you're going to be happy and you're going to bring happiness to the people around you. And I think a lot of people, you know, they might be pumping iron in the gym, but if they're not dealing with the relationships in their life in a quality fashion and bringing hope and example to them, as you once told me, everybody's a warning and an example. Well,
Anthony Robbins, yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope that for me, that I've got beautiful children and I have close relationships with them. I have a lot of good family and friends. I hope that my life, not all of it, but in the latter years and what I've set up is an example of good health. And health means so much more than just exercise and energy in your body. It means a state of mind that brings good energy into the world. And that's another part of A2Zed Health. Tell me about your energetic side of your health dynamic, because it's not woo-woo. It's really serious stuff, your life philosophy about being healthy, and it's impacted me. It took me a while to get it. It did. But once I got it and I started to embrace it, I got excited to see that my life balance and awareness model in FKC Health, it just, like dovetailing in carpentry, it just fits with A2Zed Health and your philosophy. So here's you, half my age, teaching me, and me sitting there at your feet and learning and loving it. So tell me a bit about your philosophy.
I think everyone's a student and a teacher at different moments. You know, I know, Rick, in the last interview, you spoke about that, and you shared your version. I'll share my version with it, and that is that on a moment-to-moment basis, which is very much how I see things with A2Zed Health. If I talked about on any given moment, giving your 100%, I also see the same idea when it comes to being a teacher and a student in all moments, because sometimes you have something to teach and sometimes you have something to learn, and sometimes within the same moment it's a bit of both. And what I mean by that is, say if I'm coaching one of my clients and I say something to them and they share their story with me, but I haven't heard that story before, I've now learned something, even though technically it's a session for them, but life is for everyone to enjoy and to to learn and to grow from and to teach. So it's sort of both in the same thing. But your question on energy and how important health is on a moment-to-moment basis, it has to be, because the long-term effect of not investing into your health is catastrophic. It has a compound interest effect, both positively and negatively. So in my A2Zed Health program, which is my baby, the thing that I've been working on my entire life, it's a program to help people to live better. I talk about the snowball of sickness and health. So based on these little micro decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, we then have longevity and happiness and just incredible memories of the sunsets and I talk about the orgasms. And when I say orgasms, I don't necessarily mean sexually. I'm being poetic in that the sunset and the flower and the perfume of life is coming at you at a much bigger volume, a much greater volume when you're healthy. Because when you're healthy, you can enjoy it at a much greater bandwidth, at a much greater volume, and so if you looked at all of your senses, say if you were to smell something, you can smell better, you can run faster, you can make love better, you can sleep deeper, you can train harder and with more efficiency. And when you get up, you don't say, ouch. You asked me to relate it to the older generation, and I think there's a lot of ouchie when an older person gets up. It's like, oh, my back. It's sort of like, well, why is there the acceptance? Acceptance is good, but to a certain degree. But why does that become? Why do we sit in that pain and accept it and say, oh, that's just my old age? When aging is kind of, to A2Zed Health, I'll say it from my point of view, aging is kind of a disease. We don't need to think of aging in that way. We can age like I don't encourage drinking, but it is a beautiful saying, and that's aging like a fine red wine, that it should taste better as you get older, that you should be actually moving better than when you were younger because you've learned better behavioral patterns.
I guess for me, maturing and getting to the age I've got and looking to see what's coming ahead, I certainly how would I put it? I would put it like this, that, flaring a bit on there. To be healthy is a decision, and it's a desire, and it's a mindset. But I mean, some people can be given the gift of good genes and totally trash it with substances and bad lifestyle. And some people can overcome adversity and turn some things around. I know one of our close friends who's in the health scene, who's going to be doing an interview with us soon. He was involved in some series of car accidents, and that set him back quite considerably. But the amazing guy, he's just worked himself through it. And the normal person say, well, that's it, I'm damaged and injured and it's all over for me. But this guy said, nah, I ain't going to take it. Sort of like a Bruce Lee thing, he's put himself back together and he's achieving things. And it's going to be exciting to hear from him. But what I also really get from the health perspective, I think happiness is what we all want. Why do we want a relationship? Why do we want a new car? Why do we want to achieve or pass some course or something? Everything is going towards us feeling good about ourselves. And when you're not well, you're really handicapped to feel good about yourself. It's difficult to enjoy your life when you're not well. So that's why in my model, I have health right up the top, because when I'm really healthy, I can bring energy to my relationships. I can bring it to my work and my income production. I can bring it to the enjoyment I'm going to invest. But if I'm not well, I want to sit down, lie down, and stay down, because when you're not well, nothing seems to matter. The money doesn't matter, the relationships, the sex, nothing matters when you're sick. And I think that people are in a hurry to get somewhere. And the last thing I've realized recently is there's nowhere to get. There's nothing to do if you just move forward and embrace what's in front of you properly, and you're totally present to it because you're healthy and because you've made the commitments and the investment in that health. And there's so much there. Like, one of the things is for mature age people, of course, is routines. Without routines, we're stuffed. We're not going to get anywhere unless we've got some systemic way of approaching our health triangles, our procedures. And I know at one stage there you got me to create a very large spreadsheet and monitor everything that I ate, everything, all the supplements that went in and out. And at the time I thought, wow, this is a big ask. But the beauty from that was you only asked me to do it for a couple of weeks, but after a couple of weeks, I had a profound awareness of what I was and wasn't doing. And now that I don't have that spreadsheet, the awareness remains. And I'm deeply grateful for you bringing that into my awareness and holding me accountable to at least get myself to a place where I'm proud of who I am, and I so much want to impact the lives of others and give them hope, because between 50 and 75, there's a hiatus. In that age group, there are people who are going to live to 75, 80 just because they've got good genes, but a lot of them are not doing it well and they're not enjoying it. So A2Zed Health to me is something that I'm studying under you, and I'm starting to see that you go into many areas. Could you tell us a couple of the A2Zs that people will find inside your program? I know you talk about nutritionals, you talk about supplements, you talk about mushrooms, you talk about spirituality. Let us hear a good smattering of what you've got there so that people might take a further interest in what you do.
Well, as I said, it's a spectrum of health and life. And so when I first started writing the program in my early 20s, I'm now 36, I asked a lot of questions, and I said, what is it that people feel is the thing that stops them or holds them back from being healthy? And the very common answer was motivation. And I thought it wasn't just a few people saying it. It was like across the board. A lot of people were saying the word motivation. And I thought it was bizarre because I never needed it. I never needed motivation. So it wasn't something that was a factor or something that I had contemplated myself. And so the program started beautifully because I started writing about something that I hadn't really looked into like maybe some other people do, because you tend to look into the things that you lack. Well, at least from my perspective, I try to bring up the areas of my life that I don't understand. So I started writing about motivation, and my point with that chapter, that first chapter, was to encourage you to find what you're passionate about and what you're inspired to do. And then motivation is just a byproduct of that. And motivation ends up breeding itself, because once you're already doing something that you love, you gain sort of motivation points towards more motivation. It's sort of motivation again ends up like compound interest. You don't, after doing the thing that you love after a certain amount of months or years, when you wake up in the morning, I talk about the reticular activating system, which is a part of your brain that gravitates towards anything that's important to your life. you end up just doing it anyway. So there's no motivation needed. It's not even a contemplation. I then talk about sleep, how important sleep is, because unless you sleep well, you can't really have a good day. It's like, if you want to have a really intense, passionate, loving, and fulfilled day where you get a lot achieved and feel like you're living a really meaningful life, and you're not going to have that unless you sleep deeply. So I talk about I go into a lot of depth of how to have a good sleep. And as the chapters go on, they start to thread into each other. So obviously there's, I literally show you in videos how to train. And that's everything from the intermediate to the advanced. So regardless of whether you're an 80-year-old lady who is struggling to pick up your shopping bags and, you say you've got an ache in a shoulder, ranging all the way from to elite athletes, because I was an elite athlete. So I was part of programs that showed me how to train the body at the highest end. And I've also studied it. So not only have I practiced it, but I've also studied it. So I've got both there. And what is a beautiful element of my health program is the Eastern philosophy and Eastern medicine. Because I noticed it's weird how the universe works, right? Because as early as I can remember doing artwork, I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 years old, I was putting the yin yang, I don't know if, there we go. The yin yang, there you go, I wear it. So the yin yang is, it comes from Eastern philosophy, but I've brought it into my teaching with A2Zed Health as if it's mine, because I've actually put elements within yin-yang structures to show how it works, that life is dualities, and what rests in between those dualities is the oneness. So if someone doesn't know what a duality is, it's like male and female, light and dark. I've got this background here, there's a sun setting, so once the sun sets, the moon comes up, right? So the light and the dark, the cold and the hot, the peaceful or the violent, the evil or the good, whatever you want to see it as. When you look at health, say you've got some sort of turmoil in the body, if it's hot and inflamed, you need to add cool. If you're too relaxed and easygoing, you need to add heat and intensity. So a big part of the A2Zed Health program is restoring the balance in one's life. And that's done through that initial philosophy. So if you get your philosophy right, you can restore the balance through the correct thinking. So that's how that hologram or drop-down menu happens that you described to me. That when I started telling you about A2Zed Health years ago, you said, it sounds like a hologram. So like you can choose any subject and then make it about that subject, and then throw everything that you know about health at that subject to make that subject better, right? And so I'm also embarking on Chinese medicine to be a Chinese doctor. And that has only come out of knowing that Eastern philosophical structure is there. I need to then learn the science behind it. So I'm in constant studying of all of these disciplines. But I came from an exercise science background with my training, that I have looked at nutrition at the highest end. I've worked with supplement companies and I've studied the nutrients of food just several times over. Like it's crazy. If we wanted to have a conversation about food, it's like, how many hours do you have? And you know that. But
actually,
it's really looking at everything.
We can do that as a follow-up down the track.
Say that again. I missed it.
We can do that as a follow-up down the track. We can do another one on food and nutrition, because I think it's just a fascinating subject. I have spent such a lot of time watching hundreds of YouTube videos, reading hundreds of blogs and articles, using myself as a test case and experimenting with the different lotions, potions, powders, tablets, different combinations of food. I've tried veganism, 1 meal a day. I've got involved in a lot of health processes to find the tail, the way, you know, for me. Tell me, Adam, I several years ago, I produced a book, The Keys to Happiness and Self-Love, and it was a journey for me, and I've had it around for 5, 6, 7 years. And I remember you telling me a long time ago that you had this book in mind, and I think it was Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health. I think that's the title. Is that correct?
Well, I wasn't going to share the title, but now that you have, yes, we can expand on it.
Okay, well, I believe you're very close to the completion of that project and the launching of the book. So perhaps you will want to tell us about that up and coming event. And we will be doing one of these for the book, and maybe we can combine the nutrition with the book. So yeah, tell us about your book.
Well, so you've been hearing a little bit about A2Zed Health. That is the ultimate life manifesting tool, you know, as you can see on the screen, the rise to ultimate health. You can't actually achieve ultimate health, but you can be on the constant rise to ultimate health. What I mean by this, and before people jump to, oh, no, you can. Before people jump to that, it's you can't know everything is what I mean by that. So you'll get to, say you live in Okinawa and you're one of the centenarians and you can live way past 100, even if you get to 120 or 130, you're going to be lying there in your last few seconds with your last few breaths, and you're going to know, that you could never know everything. So that's what I mean by you can never achieve ultimate health, but you can be on the constant rise to it. Now, as I said, that when I was researching to write the program, I had to figure out, well, what's the first chapter going to be? It's going to be motivation, right? Okay. Then as the years went on, I was left with a dilemma. I was talking to people about health. I said, yeah, I'm a health coach. And they said, what's that? So I'm like, you know what an accountant is? You know what a nurse is, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or a gynecologist. You know what these things are, but if I said health coach means I coach you on health. Why would you need to ask what that is? So I thought that was interesting. So I started to look at, so for the people that don't know why they should be healthy, why would they do A2Zed Health? Why would they do a program that teaches them how to be more healthy if they don't see why they should be healthy? So you see where I'm going with that. So I thought, like just a few years ago, I started to develop a concept of, all right, so A2Zed Health must be a what and a how. I'm teaching you what to do and how to do it. But we're leaving out the why. We're leaving out why should you do it. So I've written a book on why you should be healthy. Now, it's not called Why You Should Be Healthy because that's not very creative, is it? I have given people a title to make them a little bit, let's say, offended, for lack of better words, because sometimes when you... Provocative, yeah. So when you look at words, what do words mean? What does that bring up inside you, you know? So I called the book Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health. I'm not having a go at doctors, or maybe I am, maybe just the doctors who don't do the right thing. What I'm having a go at is I'm having a go at systems, and that they need to be readdressed, and that we need to look at life holistically, no matter what profession you're in. We need to give to the full extent of what we're able to give, and to not be swayed by market monopolization or government or society or systems that don't have our best interests at heart. So there's a lot of background in the book about systems and about government, which I never used to be interested in, but I became curious as to how to write about it so that people can better understand why we shouldn't be so concerned with, like, even what's going on at the moment. I found that I was investing my time into Facebook posts, and I was getting upset by the fact that everyone's upset. So I've moved away from it, and I've spent less time looking at the C word. I've spent time again looking at A2Zed Health and my book. And my book is being fast-tracked because of it. And I feel inspired, and I'm going back to training hard and sleeping deeply and not giving a shit about the nonsense, because there's a lot of nonsense out there. Now, okay, so someone might say, oh, isn't that a bit irresponsible? No, it's actually the opposite, because if I'm giving to myself, I'm then coming from a full cup, right?
Wow.
I'm able to pour my beauty, my love, my energy, my goodness into the world by being a positive light rather than another negative Nancy, you know?
Well, Adam, this has been an incredible journey, and I'm looking forward to having many more sessions with you and really pulling apart some of the science behind what you teach and some of the intricacies so that people can benefit from it. I would say one of my biggest takeaways from meeting you is for me to actually take responsibility. I mean, going to doctors and systems and gyms, it's sort of saying, well, this system is going to handle my health, or these people are going to handle my health. You help me embrace my passion to raise consciousness and awareness in myself and others, to take responsibility and say, if I'm going to be healthy, then best I be healthy. And that means I have to take action. And with the tools and processes and the information that you've led me into, along with my own research, but a lot's come from you, and you pointed me in the right direction. Wow, what a difference. So how do people get in touch with you, Adam? What do they do to find you?
Well, I was going to just mention one more thing about the book.
Please.
And that is, the book is dedicated to my father, who passed away from cancer 6 years ago. So although he had a lot to teach from a street smart and traveling and music point of view, you know, he had a lot of good psychology to teach me from his own life lessons. He was just closed off a little bit to the spectrum of holistic health we now have at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was an incredible shame that I wouldn't say famous line, but it may become a famous line from the book, and that is, who do you think you are, Adam, a doctor or something? Which was one of my dad's lines to me when I would try to explain how to be healthy to him. It's sort of like, you're my son, I'm your father, I'm teaching you. And so he didn't have that kind of teacher and student at all times thing. And he had a lot to teach, but I think he struggled to learn from me as his son. And so I don't mean this, of course, I don't mean this with any disrespect to my dad. I love him heaps, but it was an interesting thing, and part of an inspiration for the book, because in that introduction chapter, I'm talking about how it's interesting how not just my father, but people don't take all the goodness of the world and create a whole philosophy out of that. I'll talk about the Western sickness industry, and that is that, say, if you do get cancer, the immediate decision for most people is chemo and radio, rather than looking at everything. But that's with a lot of things, you know. Something might happen in your life, and your first inclination, the reason why it's called Doctors Study Sickness, You Should Study Health, is because your first inclination is, I'll go to the doctor. Why has that been embedded into our culture? So I ask a lot of why questions so that people can get introspective. Why are you going to the doctor rather than asking yourself, what does the body need? Have I slept enough? Have I eaten enough? Have I invested my time into relationships? Have I gone out and felt the sun on my skin? Have I looked at the rainbows and the sunsets and smelt the flowers? Or have I been living a fish and chips lifestyle, as Muji would say, and not doing that, and smoking the cigarettes and drinking the alcohol and just constantly doing damage to myself? So it is very much a why book, but from a point of view of let's look at health from an Eastern and Western perspective, not just in a singular focus. If you have to mention the words East and West, you know, why don't we look at health as a whole rather than looking at things in a singular fashion?
That's great, Adam.
So I just wanted to add that bit, because I think that's going to be important for people to enjoy the lead into the book, that you're going to be reading something about not how to be healthy. That's the A2Zed Health program. You're going to be reading about why you should be healthy. And I'm going to ask you a lot of hard-hitting questions, not to scare you, maybe a little bit to scare you, but in order to move you forward, to shake you out of your bullshit, so that you can move forward.
I've waited a long time, so I'm looking forward to the book. I really think that another session around specific topics will be great. Can you just let people know how to get in touch with you if they want to utilize your services or discover you? The website, of course, A2ZHealth.com.au is there. And is there other ways that they can get in touch with you, say social media, things like that?
Yeah, look, I'm on all the socials. So Adam Zaks on Facebook and A2Zed Health on Facebook as a page. Then there's Instagram, A2Zed Health or Adam Zaks. The A2Zed Health website, spelt like what you see on the screen, A2ZHealth.com. And don't go to YouTube. There's not enough there. We'll work on that.
No worries. Well, thank you so much for your time, Adam. It's been a great journey with you again. We've done this a few times, but this time I feel that the world is ready to know a lot more about you. You've got a lot more to offer than people realise. You're one of Australia's best kept hidden secrets, and it's not a secret anymore. So thanks a lot, buddy, and we'll catch you next time around the block.
Yeah, thanks, Freddie. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.